Right now, all around you, millions of creatures are living quiet, patient lives. A sloth's heart beats so slowly you could count each one. Tonight, we're exploring the most peaceful rhythms of animal life, the gentle ways creatures rest, move, and simply exist. This is a place for calm curiosity, so settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin. Deep in the rainforests of Central and South America, there lives a creature that has mastered something most of us have forgotten: the sloth. And before you picture laziness or weakness, let me tell you what's really happening inside that slow-moving body. It's not laziness at all, it's genius. A sloth's heart beats about 40 to 50 times per minute when it's awake. That's already slower than yours. Your heart probably beats 70 or 80 times per minute right now. But when a sloth sleeps, something remarkable happens. Its heart rate drops to just 20 beats per minute. 20. You could count them, one by one, with long pauses between each gentle thump. This isn't a problem. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. The sloth's entire body runs on a different speed than ours. Its metabolism, the way it processes energy from food, operates at about half the rate of other mammals its size. Half. It's like they're running on a different clock entirely. And here's where it gets beautiful. This slowness isn't holding them back, it's keeping them alive. In a rainforest where predators hunt anything that moves quickly, the sloth survives by barely moving at all. They blend into the trees. Algae grows on their fur, turning them green, making them look like part of the forest itself. They become living, breathing branches. If you're enjoying this peaceful journey through the animal kingdom, I'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to Simple Science for Sleep. We create these calming science stories every day. And I'm curious, where are you listening from right now? What time is it there? Drop a comment below. I love knowing where in the world these quiet moments are reaching. Now, back to our slow-moving friends. A sloth eats leaves. Just leaves. And leaves don't provide much energy. They're tough, hard to digest, and not very nutritious. So the sloth's body has adapted perfectly to this reality. Why waste energy moving quickly when your food gives you so little fuel? Instead, they move slowly, deliberately, conserving every bit of energy they can. Their digestive system is just as patient as they are. It can take a month for food to fully pass through a sloth's body. A month. They have a multi-chambered stomach, similar to a cow, where bacteria slowly break down all those tough leaf fibers. This takes time. This takes patience. This takes a body that's comfortable with waiting. Because of this slow metabolism, sloths only need to eat small amounts. They spend most of their time resting, digesting, simply existing in the canopy. They sleep 15 to 20 hours a day. Not because they're tired, but because rest is their strategy. Rest is their power. And this slow living actually helps them live longer. While many small mammals live only a few years, sloths in the wild can live 20 to 30 years. Some in captivity have lived over 40 years. Their slow heartbeat, their patient metabolism, their refusal to rush means less wear and tear on their bodies over time. Think about that for a moment. By slowing down, by refusing to hurry, by honoring what their bodies actually need, they extend their lives. They get more time, more decades of hanging peacefully in the trees, feeling the breeze, watching the world move around them while they stay still. They also only come down from the trees about once a week, and they come down for one reason: to go to the bathroom. That's it. They slowly climb down, slowly dig a small hole, slowly do their business, slowly cover it up, and slowly climb back up. The whole trip takes about half an hour and uses up about 8% of their daily energy. So they do it as rarely as possible. There's something deeply calming about an animal that has figured out exactly how much energy it has and refuses to waste a single bit. No rushing, no anxiety, no trying to be faster than they are. Just slow, steady, peaceful existence in the trees. And they're not the only ones who've mastered this kind of patience. Sleep is something we often feel guilty about. We set alarms. We push through tiredness. We call ourselves lazy when we want more rest. But out there in the world, animals sleep without apology. They sleep because their bodies ask for it. And some of them sleep far more than we ever could. Take the brown bat. This small creature, light enough to sit in your palm, spends 20 hours of every day asleep. 20 hours. That means for every hour it's awake, hunting insects through the dark sky, it rests for 20 more. There's no guilt in this, no feeling that it should be doing more. The bat sleeps because that's what its body needs, and in those brief hours of wakefulness, it lives fully, focused, present. Then it returns to rest. Giant armadillos do something similar. These prehistoric-looking animals, with their heavy armor and powerful claws, sleep 18 hours each day. They dig into the earth, curl up in their burrows, and simply stop. The world continues above them. The sun crosses the sky. Other animals hunt and eat and move, but the armadillo rests. And in that rest, it finds everything it needs. Why do some animals need so much sleep? The answer is actually quite peaceful. Sleep isn't laziness. It's not wasted time. Sleep is how the body repairs itself. It's how the brain sorts through information. It's how energy gets restored after being spent. For animals like bats and armadillos, sleeping this much is actually a survival strategy. It conserves energy. It keeps them safe from predators during hours when they'd be vulnerable. It allows their bodies to maintain themselves without constant wear. Think about what this means. These animals have evolved over millions of years to sleep this much. Their bodies have learned that rest is valuable, that sleep is worth protecting, that there's no shame in closing your eyes when tiredness comes. Even animals we think of as active have rest built into their days. Cats, for example, sleep between 12 and 16 hours daily. You've probably seen a cat sleeping in a patch of sunlight, completely relaxed, paws tucked under its body. That cat isn't being lazy. It's honoring what its body needs. It's resting so that when it does move, it can be quick and focused and fully alive. Dogs too. Depending on their size and age, dogs sleep between 12 and 14 hours each day. Puppies sleep even more, sometimes up to 20 hours, because their growing bodies need that time to develop. And older dogs return to longer sleep as their bodies slow down. There's a wisdom in this, a recognition that different stages of life need different amounts of rest. What's beautiful about animal sleep is the honesty in it. A tired lion doesn't force itself to keep hunting. A sleepy koala doesn't feel guilty for climbing into a tree fork and closing its eyes. They simply rest when rest is needed. They trust their bodies. They honor tiredness as a signal, not a weakness. We've somehow learned to ignore these signals. We drink coffee to push through fatigue. We feel proud when we sleep less. We act as if rest is something we have to earn. But animals know differently. They know that sleep is as essential as food, as necessary as breathing. It's not a luxury. It's not something to feel guilty about. It's just what bodies need to keep going. And here's something else. When animals sleep, they sleep deeply. They don't lie awake worrying. They don't check the time. They don't think about tomorrow. They simply let go. Their bodies know how to rest completely, how to surrender to sleep without resistance. It's a kind of trust we've mostly forgotten, but some animals take this even further. Hibernation is one of nature's most remarkable acts of patience. It's not just sleep, it's something deeper, something that looks almost like death, but isn't. It's a state where life slows down so much that it barely flickers. And some animals spend months in this state, trusting completely that they'll wake up when the time is right. Ground squirrels are masters of this. When winter comes and food becomes scarce, they don't panic. They don't try to push through. Instead, they retreat into their burrows, curl into tight balls, and begin the long rest. Their body temperature drops from a normal 98 degrees down to just above freezing, sometimes as low as 32 degrees. At that temperature, their heart rate falls from about 200 beats per minute down to just 5 beats per minute. You could count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then wait for the next minute to begin. Their breathing slows too. Instead of taking dozens of breaths each minute, a hibernating ground squirrel might breathe once every few minutes. Sometimes they go 5 minutes between breaths. The space between each breath is a small eternity. But their body knows how to survive in this space. It's learned how to need almost nothing, how to exist on the edge of life without falling over. This isn't sleep as we know it. During hibernation, brain activity drops to levels we'd consider dangerous. Metabolic processes slow to a crawl. The animal is neither fully awake nor truly asleep. It's somewhere in between, a state of suspension, of waiting, of absolute patience. And here's what's beautiful. The animal doesn't worry about waking up. It doesn't set an alarm. It doesn't check how long it's been asleep. It simply trusts that its body knows what to do, that when spring comes and the world warms, something inside will know. Something will trigger the slow return to life. And it does. Every time. Other animals hibernate too. Bears, though people often talk about them, aren't true hibernators. Their body temperature only drops slightly, and they can wake up relatively easily. But animals like the Arctic ground squirrel take it to the extreme. They hibernate for up to 8 months each year. 8 months, 2/3 of their entire lives spent in this state of barely there existence. When they finally wake up in spring, they've survived on nothing but the fat they stored before winter. They haven't eaten, they haven't drunk water, they've simply waited. Bats hibernate too. In caves and hollow trees, they hang upside down in the darkness and let their bodies cool. Their heart rate drops. Their breathing slows. They exist in clusters, bodies pressed together for warmth, each one contributing to the survival of all. And in this communal rest, they wait out the cold months when insects don't fly and food doesn't exist. What does it feel like to hibernate? We can't know, but imagine the peace of it. No hunger, no thirst, no need to move or act or do anything at all. Just existence at its most minimal. Just being alive without any of the effort that usually comes with it. For months, these animals experience something we never will. A rest so complete that consciousness itself fades away. There's no fighting it, no resistance. When the time comes, the animal's body simply knows. Hormones shift, temperature drops, breathing slows, and the long rest begins. It's not a choice so much as a response, an acceptance. The body knows what's needed, and the animal trusts that knowledge completely. Scientists have studied hibernation for years, trying to understand it. How can an animal survive with so little oxygen? How does the brain protect itself when it's functioning at such low levels? How do they avoid muscle atrophy when they don't move for months? The answers are complex, involving special proteins and cellular protection mechanisms. But underneath all the science is something simpler. These animals have learned to let go, to surrender to the season, to trust in the return of warmth and life. When a ground squirrel finally wakes in spring, it doesn't wake all at once. The body warms gradually, the heart rate increases slowly, breathing deepens. Over several hours, life returns. And when the animal finally opens its eyes and emerges from its burrow, the world has changed. Snow has melted, plants have begun to grow, food is available again. The long wait is over. But some animal experiences of time are even stranger than this. Time feels different depending on how long you live. For us, a decade is significant. A century is beyond our personal experience. But some animals live so long that our entire lifespans would feel like brief moments to them. They move through time at a different pace. And in that slow movement, there's a kind of peace we can barely imagine. The Greenland shark lives in the deep, cold waters of the Arctic. It moves slowly through the darkness, a grey shadow in an already grey world. And it can live for over 400 years. 400. Think about what that means. And a Greenland shark alive today might have been born in the early 1600s. It would have been swimming through Arctic waters when Shakespeare was still writing plays. When the first European settlers were arriving in North America, when most of the modern world didn't yet exist. What does time feel like when you have 400 years of it? Does a decade feel short? Does a year pass like we experience a week? Scientists think these sharks grow incredibly slowly, maybe less than half an inch per year. Their metabolism is slow. Their movements are slow. Everything about them happens at a pace that makes patients look rushed. They don't reach sexual maturity until they're about 150 years old. Imagine living for a century and a half before you're even considered an adult. The waiting built into their biology is extraordinary, but giant tortoises know something about this too. The famous tortoise Harriet, who lived at the Australia Zoo, was estimated to be 175 years old when she died. She was possibly collected by Charles Darwin himself during his voyage on the Beagle in 1835. She lived through the entire development of modern science, through world wars, through the invention of cars, planes, computers, the internet. The whole human world transformed around her, while she simply continued being a tortoise, eating, resting, moving slowly from one patch of grass to another. Jonathan, a Seychelles giant tortoise living on the island of St. Helena, is even older. Born around 1832, he's currently over 190 years old. He's the oldest known living land animal. When he was young, the first photograph was just being invented. Most of the countries we know today didn't exist. And through all of it, through all the human drama and change and progress, he's just been there, living his tortoise life, steady, unchanging, patient in a way we can't comprehend. These long-lived animals don't seem to hurry. They don't appear stressed. They move through their centuries with a kind of calm acceptance that's built into their biology. Part of it is physical. Cold-blooded animals like tortoises and sharks have slower metabolisms, which seems to be linked to longer lifespans. Their cells don't divide as quickly. They don't wear out as fast. Time itself seems to move differently in their bodies. But there's something else too. These animals live without urgency. A Greenland shark doesn't worry about wasting time. It doesn't feel behind schedule. It just exists in the cold, deep water, day after day, year after year, century after century. There's no rush because there's no deadline. Life is simply what happens between birth and death, and that span is so long that individual days become meaningless. Think about witnessing that much change. A tortoise born in 1832 has seen the human population grow from 1 billion to 8 billion. It's seen forests become cities. It's seen technology transform from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft. And through all of it, the tortoise's life remained essentially the same. Eat, rest, bask in the sun. The fundamentals don't change, even when everything around them does. There's wisdom in this kind of longevity. These animals have survived by not adapting too quickly, by maintaining their slow pace even when the world speeds up, so by trusting in patterns that have worked for millions of years. Tortoises today live basically the same way their ancestors did 100 million years ago. That consistency, that refusal to rush, is part of what lets them live so long. Ocean quahog clams can live even longer than Greenland sharks. One specimen, nicknamed Ming, was determined to be over 500 years old. It was born in 1499. It lived through the entire modern era of human history, buried in the seafloor, filtering water, growing slowly, layer by layer, year by year. 5 centuries of existence in the cold, dark, quiet ocean. No light, no awareness of the world above, just the simple act of being alive, repeated for half a millennium. What these long-lived creatures teach us is that life doesn't have to be fast to be full. It doesn't have to be urgent to be meaningful. They show us that patience isn't just a virtue, but a way of being. That slow existence is still existence. That time, when you have enough of it, becomes something different, something less frightening, just a medium you move through, like water or air. And some animals show us that long lives allow for incredible journeys. Migration is often told as a dramatic story, the struggle, the danger, the epic journey. But some migrations are quieter than that. They're not about speed or heroism. They're about patience, about trust, about doing what's needed step by step, generation after generation. And one of the most beautiful examples of this is the monarch butterfly. Every fall, millions of monarch butterflies begin a journey. They leave their summer homes across the United States and Canada and start flying south. They're heading to a very specific place, a small area of mountain forests in central Mexico. These forests, about 50 miles west of Mexico City, are where monarchs have been spending winters for longer than anyone knows. And the butterflies know how to find them, even though most of them have never been there before. Here's what makes this remarkable. A monarch butterfly lives about 2 to 6 weeks during the summer months. That's barely any time at all. But the generation born in late summer is different. These butterflies, called the super generation, can live up to 8 months. They're the ones who make the journey south. They fly up to 3,000 miles, sometimes traveling 50 to 100 miles per day. But they don't rush, and they stop to feed on nectar. They rest in trees overnight. They move with the weather, not against it. When they reach the mountains of Mexico, they gather in the Oyamel fir trees, millions of them, clustered so thickly that branches bend under their weight. The entire trees seem to turn orange and black, and there they wait out the winter, barely moving, conserving energy in the cool mountain air. They're not hibernating exactly, but they're in a state of low activity, resting, waiting for spring. When spring comes, they begin the journey north again. But here's the thing, the same butterflies who flew south don't make it all the way back. They start the journey, but after they've travelled part way, they stop to mate and lay eggs. Then they die. Their children continue north. Those children also mate, lay eggs, and die. It takes 3 or 4 generations to complete the journey back north that the super generation made alone on the way south. No single butterfly completes the full cycle, and yet the cycle continues. Monarchs return to the same summer territories their great-great-grandparents left. They find the same milkweed plants, and in the fall, their great-great-grandchildren will somehow know to fly south, and they'll somehow find their way to those same mountain forests in Mexico, a place they've never been, a place their parents and grandparents never saw. How do they know? Scientists are still figuring it out. Part of it seems to be an internal compass that uses the sun's position. Part might be magnetic sensing. Part might be genetic memory. Information passed down in ways we don't fully understand. But however it works, the knowledge persists, the journey continues. Generation after generation, the pattern holds. There's something deeply peaceful about this. The butterflies aren't trying to complete the whole journey themselves. They're not racing against time. They're simply doing their part, flying as far as they can, laying eggs so the next generation can continue, trusting that the pattern will hold, that their children will know what to do, that the journey is bigger than any individual life. This is different from how we often think about goals and achievement. We want to finish what we start. We want to see the results of our efforts. But monarchs show us another way. They show us that it's okay to only do your part, to trust that others will carry on, to participate in something larger than yourself without needing to see its completion. And the journey itself isn't rushed. Yes, they have to reach Mexico before hard freezes, but they don't fly desperately. They stop to feed. They rest. They move at a pace their small bodies can sustain. There's determination in it, but not stress. Just steady progress, day after day, mile after mile. Other animals migrate this way too. Arctic terns fly from pole to pole and back each year, a round trip of about 44,000 miles. But they do it over months, not days. They feed along the way. They ride favourable winds. They rest on ice and water. The journey is long, but it's not frantic. It's just what they do, what they've always done, what they're built to do. Caribou migrate across the Arctic tundra in herds. They move together, sometimes travelling 1,500 miles between summer and winter ranges. The journey is slow, or calves are born along the way. The herd adjusts its pace to accommodate them. They stop to graze. They rest. They move as a group, no individual rushing ahead. The journey happens in its own time. What these migrations teach us is that movement doesn't have to be fast to cover great distances. That persistence matters more than speed. That rest is part of the journey, not a break from it. These animals are going somewhere, yes, but they're not in a hurry. They trust in the pace their bodies can maintain. They trust in patterns that have worked for thousands of generations. And there's something beautiful about multi-generational journeys like the monarchs. It means no individual has to carry the full weight. The first generation starts it. The next continues. Eventually, someone completes it. But the completion belongs to all of them, and the journey is shared across time, across generations. No one does it alone. But migration isn't always about traveling vast distances. Some animals move through the world with incredible simplicity. No brain, no plan, no anxiety about where they're going or why. They just exist in the flow of things, and few creatures embody this better than jellyfish. These ancient drifters have been pulsing through Earth's oceans for over 500 million years. They were here before fish, before dinosaurs, before almost everything we think of as animal life. And they've survived all this time by being remarkably simple. A jellyfish has no brain, no heart, no bones, no blood. It's mostly water, actually. About 95% of its body is just water held together by a thin membrane. What it does have is a nerve net. A simple network of neurons spread throughout its body that allows it to sense light, respond to touch, and coordinate movement. But there's no central processing, no thinking, just immediate response to immediate stimuli. Touch something, contract, sense light, move toward or away. That's it. They move by pulsing. The bell-shaped body contracts, pushing water out behind them, which moves them forward. Then the bell relaxes and fills with water again. Contract, relax, contract, relax. This simple rhythm has carried them through 500 million years of Earth's history. It's not fast movement. It's not purposeful in the way we think of purpose. But it's enough. It moves them through the water. It brings them into contact with food. It keeps them alive. And mostly, they drift. They let ocean currents carry them. They don't fight against the water. They don't have a destination in mind. They just move with whatever forces are moving the water around them. If the current pulls them one direction, they go that direction. If it changes, they change. There's no resistance, no preference, just complete acceptance of where the ocean wants to take them. This might sound passive, but there's a kind of wisdom in it. Jellyfish have survived multiple mass extinction events. They've outlasted countless species that were more complex, more intelligent, more seemingly well adapted. And they did it by being simple, by not needing much, by accepting whatever came. The ocean moves them somewhere warm. They live there. Somewhere cold. They adapt. Food is scarce. They can survive for long periods without eating. Conditions are good. They reproduce quickly. They respond to what is, not what they want things to be. Some jellyfish are immortal. Well, biologically immortal anyway. The species Teratopsis dawni can reverse its aging process. When it gets old or sick or injured, it can transform back into its juvenile polyp stage and start its life cycle over. It essentially resets. This means that, theoretically, it could live forever, cycling through life stages indefinitely. Death is optional. It only happens if the jellyfish is eaten or destroyed physically. Otherwise, it can just keep going, living, transforming, living again. But even this remarkable ability is simple in its execution. The jellyfish doesn't decide to transform. It's not a conscious choice. It's just what happens under certain conditions. The body knows what to do. The cells know how to reorganize themselves. So there's no thought required, no planning, just response, just the body doing what it's built to do. When you watch jellyfish in an aquarium or in the ocean, there's something hypnotic about them. They pulse slowly, they drift gracefully. Light filters through their translucent bodies. Their tentacles trail behind them like thoughts dissolving. There's no hurry in their movement, no stress. They're not trying to get anywhere. They're just being, just existing in this moment, and then the next moment, and then the next. They don't see the way we see. They have light-sensitive cells, but no eyes, at least not in most species. Some have simple eye-like structures that can detect light and dark, but there's no image processing, no visual understanding of the world, just brightness and shadow, just enough information to know which way is up, which way the light comes from. Everything else is touch and chemical sensing, feeling their way through the water, responding to what they encounter. There's no pain as we understand it, no fear, no worry about tomorrow. A jellyfish exists entirely in the present moment. It can't anticipate, it can't remember, it can't plan. It can only be here, now, responding to what's happening right now. And in that complete presentness, there's a kind of peace we spend our whole lives trying to reach through meditation and mindfulness. They have it by default. They can't be anywhere but here, can't be any time but now. When conditions are right, jellyfish bloom. Thousands or millions of them appear together, drifting through the same waters. These blooms can be enormous, covering hundreds of square miles of ocean, unless they happen when temperature and nutrients and all the right conditions align, and then they fade. The jellyfish die or drift apart. The bloom dissolves. There's no permanence to it, just a moment of abundance, and then it passes. They reproduce in different ways depending on the species and conditions. Some bud off new jellyfish from polyps attached to rocks. Some release eggs and sperm into the water, leaving fertilization to chance and current. There's no parenting, no teaching. The new jellyfish simply are. They pulse, they drift, they feed, they do what jellyfish do, not because they were taught, but because that's what they are. In some way, jellyfish represent the absolute minimum of what it means to be an animal. No brain, no heart, no blood, just a body that responds to the world around it. A just life in its most stripped down form. And that stripped down form has outlasted nearly everything else. It survived when creatures with bigger brains, more complex bodies, better tools, all died out. Simplicity, it turns out, is a kind of strength. Not needing much means you can survive when there's not much to have. But even among creatures with more complexity, simplicity can be a way of life. Hummingbirds are among the most energetic creatures alive. Their wings beat up to 80 times per second. Their hearts, when active, beat over 1,200 times per minute. They hover in midair, fly backwards, zip between flowers at speeds that blur them into streaks of color. Everything about them seems to vibrate with energy. They are small engines of pure motion. And yet, every night, they do something remarkable. They almost die, not actually die, but they come close. The behavior is called torpor, and it's how hummingbirds survive the night. See, all that energy comes at a cost. A hummingbird's metabolism is so fast that it needs to eat constantly during the day. It consumes up to half its body weight in nectar. It visits hundreds or thousands of flowers. It's always feeding, always moving, because staying still means running out of fuel. And when night comes and flowers close and feeding is impossible, the hummingbird faces a problem. How do you survive the dark hours when you can't eat, but your body burns energy like a tiny furnace? The answer is torpor. As night falls, the hummingbird's body temperature begins to drop. Normally, around 104 degrees Fahrenheit, it can fall to as low as 50 degrees, and the heart rate plummets from over 1,000 beats per minute to around 50. Breathing slows dramatically. The bird becomes so still that it looks dead. You could touch it, and it might not respond. This isn't sleep as we know it. It's closer to hibernation, a nightly mini-hibernation that saves enough energy to survive until morning. In this state, the hummingbird uses about 1/50th of the energy it uses during the day. This conservation is the difference between life and death. Without torpor, a hummingbird would starve before morning. Its reserves would burn away in the darkness. But by shutting down, by letting its body temperature drop, by slowing everything to a crawl, it survives the long hours without food. When morning comes, waking up is a slow process. The bird begins to shiver, generating heat. Its body temperature rises gradually. The heart rate increases. After 15 minutes to an hour, it's warm enough and awake enough to fly again, to find food, to return to its daytime intensity. But that intensity is only possible because of the deep rest that preceded it. There's something important here. Even the fastest, most energetic animals need rest. In fact, they might need it more than slower creatures. All that activity creates a debt that must be paid. The hummingbird pays it every night by essentially shutting down, by trusting that it will wake up again, by accepting that life requires both motion and stillness. Think about what torpor requires. The hummingbird has to let go completely. It has to become vulnerable. It can't flee from predators in this state. It can't respond to danger. It's essentially unconscious, cold, unresponsive. That's a huge risk, but it's a necessary risk. Without this deep rest, there's no way to continue. The body needs this shutdown, this complete cessation of normal function, and the hummingbird trusts it every single night. Different species of hummingbirds use torpor to different degrees. Some, living in colder climates or higher elevations, drop their temperature more dramatically. Others, in warmer regions where the nights aren't as long or cold, might not enter as deep a state. But all of them use some version of this. All of them recognize that the daytime speed isn't sustainable around the clock, that there has to be a balance. Fast by day, nearly still by night. This daily cycle of extremes is part of what makes hummingbirds so remarkable. They live at both ends of the metabolic spectrum, and they're capable of incredible energy output and incredible energy conservation. They're neither purely fast nor purely slow. They're both in their time, and knowing when to be, which is crucial. Other small animals face similar challenges. Shrews, tiny mammals with equally fast metabolisms, must eat constantly during their waking hours. They can't go more than a few hours without food, or they'll die. Their lives are a constant search for insects, worms, anything they can catch. But they also sleep, they rest, they give their bodies breaks from the relentless need to hunt and eat. Even though those breaks can't last long, they're essential. Bats, which we talked about earlier, also use torpor. Some species enter it daily, even in summer. Others use it just in cold weather. But The principle is the same. Lower the body temperature, slow the metabolism, conserve energy, survive the times when food isn't available, or when the cost of staying warm is too high. Rest deeply enough that the body can continue. What these small, fast creatures teach us is that speed and rest aren't opposites. They're partners. You can't have one without the other. The fastest animals are also some of the deepest resters. They have to be. The energy spent during activity must be recovered during rest. There's no cheating this balance. No way to be constantly active without paying the price. And there's no shame in the rest. The hummingbird doesn't feel guilty about torpor. It doesn't try to push through the night. It doesn't worry that shutting down makes it weak. It simply does what its body needs. When it's time to be fast, it's fast. When it's time to rest, it rests completely. All the transitions between these states are clean. There's no resistance. For us, watching a hummingbird hover at a flower, it's easy to think that's what the bird is always like. Always moving, always buzzing, always alive with energy. But that's only half the story. The other half happens in the darkness, happens in the stillness, happens when the tiny bird hangs from a branch or tucks into a nest and lets its temperature fall, its heart slow, its consciousness fade. That's when the recovery happens. That's when the energy for tomorrow's flight is preserved. Size amplifies everything. Small bodies lose heat faster. Small bodies need more food relative to their size. Small bodies face bigger challenges just staying alive. And because of this, small animals have had to develop extreme strategies. But the hummingbird's torpor is one of the most extreme. A nightly near-death that makes life possible. A trust in the body's ability to shut down and restart. A recognition that life isn't about constant motion, but about knowing when to move and when to be still. But size isn't everything when it comes to peaceful existence. In the deep ocean, where light fades to nothing and pressure would crush human bodies, whales sing. They send long, low sounds through the water. These sounds travel for miles, sometimes hundreds of miles, sometimes thousands. The songs move through the darkness, through the cold, through waters no eye can see through. And somewhere, far away, another whale hears, another whale answers. This is how they talk. This is how they find each other in the vast emptiness of the sea. Whale songs are not fast communication, and they're not urgent messages. They're patient, deliberate. A humpback whale's song can last 20 minutes. The whale sings the same phrases over and over, with slight variations, different themes, different patterns. The song develops and changes over the breeding season, but slowly. Each performance is a commitment of time and energy, and the whale sings, knowing that the answer, if it comes, might not come for hours, or days, or ever. The frequency matters. Whales sing in very low frequencies, often below what humans can hear. These low sounds, called infrasound, travel farther in water than high-pitched sounds. A blue whale's call, at around 15 to 20 hertz, can travel across entire ocean basins. One whale off the coast of California could theoretically be heard by another whale near Japan, or the Pacific Ocean becomes a medium for conversation. A space where loneliness can be answered, even across thousands of miles. But mostly, there's silence between the songs. Long stretches where the whale swims, feeds, breathes at the surface, dives again. The song is punctuation in the quiet, a statement into the void. I am here. And then the waiting, the listening, the hoping that somewhere out there, someone heard, that the message wasn't lost in the immensity of the ocean. Sperm whales use clicks instead of songs. They hunt in deep water, using echolocation to find giant squid in complete darkness. But they also use patterns of clicks to communicate. Different patterns seem to mean different things, and different whale families have different click patterns, dialects, ways of speaking that identify which clan you belong to. When whales meet, they can tell by listening whether they're family, whether they share a history, whether they speak the same language. These clicks can also travel long distances. Sperm whales have been recorded making some of the loudest sounds in the animal kingdom. Loud enough that, in theory, they could harm nearby animals. But the whales are careful. They aim their clicks away from each other when close. They know how to be heard without hurting, how to communicate without overwhelming. What's peaceful about whale communication is the patience in it. There's no interrupting, no talking over each other. One whale sings, then stops, then listens. Maybe another whale sings back, maybe not. There's no frustration in the waiting, no impatience, just the act of sending sound into water and seeing what returns. It's like prayer, in a way. You send something out, not knowing if anyone receives it, but you send it anyway because the sending itself matters. Whales also use touch. When they meet, they sometimes brush against each other, gentle contact between enormous bodies. A mother and calf stay close, touching often. The calf learns to breathe by watching, by feeling the mother's movements. There's no verbal instruction, just presence, just the physical reality of being together. And in that togetherness, understanding happens. Grey whales migrate in groups. They travel from Arctic feeding grounds to warm lagoons in Baja California, where they give birth. The journey is over 5,000 miles each way, and they make it together, swimming in loose formations, sometimes alone, sometimes in pairs or small groups, but always part of the larger movement, or the larger journey. They don't talk constantly during the migration, but there's an awareness, a knowing where the others are, a connection that doesn't require constant communication. When whales breach, throwing their enormous bodies out of the water and crashing back down, it creates a sound that travels for miles. Scientists think this might be communication too, a way of announcing presence, of saying I'm here in a way that can't be missed. The splash is visible, the sound is audible. Both water and air carry the message. It's dramatic but not aggressive, just clear, unmistakable, present. Whales also use silence. They can swim quietly when they want to, when they're hunting or resting or just moving through the ocean. They don't fill every moment with sound. They know when to sing and when to be still, when to announce themselves and when to pass through unnoticed. This balance, this knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, is something we often struggle with. But whales seem to understand it instinctively. The songs change over time. Each year, humpback whales in a region sing similar songs, but the songs evolve. New phrases appear, old ones fade away. By the next breeding season, the song has transformed, and all the whales in that region have learned the changes. They've heard each other, they've adapted, they've kept up with the cultural shift. There's no written record, no recordings to reference, just memory, just listening, just the slow evolution of a tradition passed through sound. Some whales sing alone. The loneliest whale in the world, as it's been called, sings at 52 hertz. This is much higher than the typical blue or fin whale frequency. Other whales might not hear it clearly, might not recognize it as whale song. And this whale has been tracked for years, swimming the Pacific, singing its unique song. No one knows if it ever receives an answer, if it's truly alone or just singing in a dialect others don't understand. But it keeps singing, year after year, the hope, perhaps, that someone will hear. Or maybe just because singing is what whales do. There's something deeply moving about this, about continuing to call even when you don't know if anyone's listening, about sending your voice into the vastness and trusting that it matters, that the act of communication itself has value regardless of response. Whales teach us this. They show us that connection doesn't require constant contact, so that presence can be felt across distances. That patience in communication is its own kind of intimacy, and sometimes connection happens through more than just sound. Elephants greet each other by touching. When a herd reunites after separation, even if it's only been hours, they reach out. Trunks intertwine. They touch faces, ears, bodies. There's rumbling, deep sounds below human hearing. But mostly, there's the physical contact, the reassurance that comes from feeling another living being. The confirmation that they're still together, that the family remains whole. The trunk is remarkably sensitive. It contains over 40,000 muscles. It can pick up a single blade of grass or push down a tree. But its most important use might be communication. Mother elephants touch their calves constantly, guiding them, reassuring them, teaching them. The calf learns to use its trunk by feeling the mother use hers, by being touched and touching back, by understanding that this flexible extension of the face is how you connect with the world. When elephants are stressed or scared, they seek touch. Young elephants will press against their mothers or aunts. Adults will stand close, body to body. During thunderstorms, herds cluster together. The physical presence of others provides comfort that vocalizations alone cannot. There's something about touch, about feeling another warm body, that settles the nervous system. That says you're not alone in a language deeper than words. Elephants also use infrasound, like whales. They produce rumbles at frequencies below 20 Hz. These sounds travel through the ground and air. Other elephants can detect them through their feet and trunks, feeling the vibrations. A matriarch can send a message that travels several miles. We're here. Water this direction. Danger nearby. And the other elephants, feeling those vibrations through the earth, understand. They respond. The conversation happens through the ground itself. But even more remarkable than the infrasound is what happens when elephants encounter death. When they find the bones of other elephants, they stop. They touch the bones gently with their trunks. They stand quietly, sometimes for long periods. If the bones are from a family member, the response is even more pronounced. They may return to the site repeatedly. They seem to remember, to mourn. Scientists have documented elephants standing vigil over dead family members for days. Not eating, not leaving, just being present, touching the body, running their trunks over the still form. When they finally leave, they sometimes cover the body with leaves and branches. They return to the site years later, touching the bones again, remembering. This suggests something profound. Elephants don't just recognize death, they feel it. They process loss. They have some understanding that the individual they knew is gone, and that absence matters to them. It creates a wound that time doesn't completely heal. They carry their dead with them in memory. And when they encounter reminders, they pause. They acknowledge. They touch what remains. Touch between elephants isn't always gentle. During musth, a period of increased testosterone, male elephants become aggressive. They spar with each other. They test strength. But even this is a kind of communication, a way of establishing hierarchy, of understanding where you fit in the social structure. And once the hierarchy is clear, the aggression fades. They can be near each other peacefully again. The conflict served its purpose. The message was delivered. Female elephants, though, maintain peaceful relationships throughout their lives. Herds are led by matriarchs, the oldest females. Younger females follow. They help raise calves communally. Aunts and sisters and cousins all participate in childcare. And touch is how they bond, how they reassure, how they teach. A young elephant learning to use its trunk receives constant, gentle correction. A touch here, a nudge there. Patient guidance through physical contact. When elephants play, there's a lot of touching. Young elephants wrestle with each other. They twine trunks. They push and shove in ways that look rough but aren't meant to harm. It's practice for adult life. Learning strength, learning boundaries, learning how bodies work and what they can do. But it's also bonding, building relationships that will last decades, learning who your friends are, who you can trust. Elephants recognize each other after years of separation. There are documented cases of elephants reuniting after decades and immediately showing recognition. The touching becomes more intense, more urgent, the vocalizations louder. There's clear joy in the reunion, clear relief, as if they've been carrying the memory of the separated individual all this time, wondering, hoping, and now, finally, they're together again. This capacity for relationship, for maintaining bonds across time and distance, and suggests a rich emotional life. Elephants aren't just responding to immediate stimuli. They're carrying experiences with them. They remember who helped them, who hurt them, who they love, and those memories shape how they interact, who they seek out, who they trust, who they touch. Touch also communicates hierarchy and respect. Younger elephants give older ones space. They allow them to lead. They wait their turn at water sources. This isn't fear, it's acknowledgement, recognition of experience and wisdom. The matriarch leads because she's proven capable. She knows where water is during drought. She knows migration routes. She knows what dangers look like. And the others follow, not because they must, but because they trust her knowledge. When an elephant is sick or injured, the herd slows down. They adjust their pace to accommodate the struggling member. They use their trunks to help support them, to guide them, to encourage them to keep going. If an elephant falls, others will try to help them stand. If they can't stand, the herd may stay with them until the end, not leaving them to die alone, offering presence, touch, company in the final moments. This care extends even to other species sometimes. There are reports of elephants being gentle with humans, particularly children, of elephants moving carefully around smaller animals, of a certain awareness that their size and strength could cause harm, and a choice to be careful, to be gentle, to use power with restraint. What elephants teach us through touch is that physical connection matters, that it communicates things words cannot, and that comfort and love and grief and joy can all be expressed through the simple act of reaching out, of making contact, of saying through touch, I see you, I'm here. you're not alone. And in a world that often prioritizes verbal communication, that prizes words over physical presence, elephants remind us that sometimes the most important things can't be said. They can only be felt. But not all bonds are between members of the same species. Some bonds last a lifetime, not because they have to, not because there's no choice, but because once formed, they simply continue. Albatrosses know this. These massive seabirds, with wingspans reaching 11 feet, mate for life. When two albatrosses pair, they're committing to decades together, 50 years or more, half a century of partnership, half a century of returning to each other. The courtship takes time. Young albatrosses don't mate immediately. They spend years practicing. They return to breeding colonies and dance. Not with a chosen partner yet, but with various birds, learning the movements. Each species of albatross has its own dance. Unique combinations of bill clacking, wing spreading, head movements, calls. The dances can last minutes or hours. They're elaborate, precise, and the young birds need time to master them. Eventually, after seasons of practice, a pair begins to form. Two birds find that their movements sync, that their dance works together. They return to each other year after year, perfecting their coordination. And finally, they commit. They choose each other, and from that point forward, they're bonded. When they return to the breeding colony each year, they seek each other out. They perform their unique dance together, a dance that belongs only to them. No other pair dances exactly the same way. But most of the year, they're apart. Albatrosses spend most of their lives flying over the ocean. They can travel thousands of miles without landing. They feed on squid and fish, skimming the surface, gliding on winds that blow across empty water. They might not see another albatross for months. They're alone with the sea and sky, and somewhere their partner is doing the same thing. Flying, feeding, surviving, both of them waiting for the season when they'll return. When breeding season comes, they fly back to the colony. Often the same island where they were born, the same cliffs or beaches where they fledged years ago. And somehow, in a colony that might contain thousands of birds, they find each other. And the recognition is immediate. The greeting dance begins. After months apart, they're together again. And the relief in it, the joy in it, is visible. The dance is more than ritual. It's reunion. It's confirmation that they both survived, that the bond holds, that another year is possible. They mate and produce one egg. Just one. All that investment of time and energy for a single offspring. The parents take turns incubating it. One sits on the nest, while the other flies out to sea to feed. Sometimes these feeding trips last days or weeks. The sitting parent doesn't eat during this time, just waits, keeps the egg warm, trusts that the partner will return, and they do. Always, unless death prevents it. When the chick hatches, both parents feed it. They fly hundreds or thousands of miles out to sea, collect food, to return to regurgitate it for the chick. This goes on for months. The chick grows slowly, takes its time developing the strength needed for its own life at sea. And the parents don't rush it. They keep feeding, keep returning, keep providing until the young bird is ready. Eventually, the chick fledges. It leaves, and the parents, their work done for the year, separate again, back to their solitary ocean lives. But they'll return next season, to the same place, to each other. The pattern repeats year after year, decade after decade, as long as both are alive. If one partner dies, the surviving bird usually doesn't pair again immediately. Some never pair again. They return to the colony each year, alone. They might engage in courtship dances with other unpaired birds, but often they don't commit. The loss of a decades-long partner isn't something easily replaced. The dance they perfected together, the coordination they built over years, doesn't transfer to a new partner, so they stay single. Or they eventually, after years, slowly build a new partnership. But the first bond, that carries weight. Its absence is felt. This faithfulness isn't about romance as we understand it. It's not emotional in the human sense. But it's commitment, it's reliability, it's the building of something over time that becomes more valuable than any single season. The partnership works because both birds invest in it, because they return, because they keep the agreement they made through dance years ago. Other birds mate for life too. Swans, geese, certain parrots and penguins. Each species has its own way of bonding, its own courtship, and its own reunion rituals. But the pattern is similar. Two individuals finding each other, choosing each other, building something that lasts beyond convenience, beyond a single mating season, building something that spans years, that becomes part of their identity, part of who they are. Emperor penguins reunite each year on Antarctic ice. They haven't seen each other for months. They've been feeding at sea, separate, alone. And when breeding season calls them back to the ice, they have to find each other among thousands of identical-looking penguins. But they do. They call, they listen, they recognize each other's voices. And when they meet, there's a greeting display, calls, movements, acknowledgement. You're here, I'm here, we made it another year. What's remarkable is the patience in these bonds. Albatrosses might spend 11 months apart and 1 month together. That's the entire relationship each year. 1 month of being in the same place. The rest is faith. Trust that the other is still alive somewhere out on the ocean. Trust that they'll return when the time comes. And they do, year after year. The trust is earned. The pattern holds. This is different from how we often think about relationships. We expect constant contact, daily communication, regular presence. But these birds show another way. They show that connection doesn't require proximity, that bonds can span distance and time, that commitment can exist in the returning, not in the constant staying. They meet, they mate, they raise their young, then they part. And that parting doesn't break the bond. It's just the space between meetings, the necessary separation that makes the reunion meaningful. When an albatross finally dies after 50 or 60 years, its partner has spent decades with them, raised dozens of chicks, performed their unique dance hundreds of times, returned to the same spot year after year, finding each other in the crowd. That's a lifetime of small faithfulnesses, of showing up, of keeping the bond alive through action, not just feeling. And when it ends, when one partner doesn't return, the loss is real. The absence is felt. But the bond itself, the decades of partnership, that remains. That was real. That mattered. And sometimes, the roles of partnership look completely different than we'd expect. In most of the animal world, mothers carry the young. Mothers give birth. Mothers provide the initial care. But seahorses do something different. Once seahorse fathers get pregnant, they carry the babies. They give birth. And in this reversal of what we expect, there's something quietly revolutionary. A reminder that care and nurturing aren't tied to one sex or one way of being. that parenthood can look different and still be complete. The courtship between seahorses is gentle. They're not fast swimmers. They don't chase each other dramatically. Instead, they dance. They hold each other's tails. They float together in the water, moving in synchronized spirals, rising and falling. The dance can last for days. It's patient, unhurried, a slow building of coordination and trust. And eventually, when they're ready, they mate. During mating, the female deposits her eggs into the male's pouch. This pouch, on his front, is specially designed for pregnancy. It's not just a container. It's a womb. Inside, the eggs attach to the pouch wall. Blood vessels grow to supply them with oxygen and nutrients. The father's body regulates the environment, controls the salt content, protects the developing embryos from predators and disease. He's not just carrying them, he's growing them, nurturing them. His body changes to accommodate their needs. The pregnancy lasts weeks, depending on the species. During this time, the father continues living, swimming, feeding, but he's more careful now. He avoids predators more actively. He stays in safer areas. His body is doing two jobs, keeping himself alive and growing his offspring, and he manages both. Day after day, week after week, his belly swells as the babies develop. He looks ready to burst, but he waits until they're ready. When it's time to give birth, the contractions begin, and the father anchors himself to seaweed or coral with his tail. Then he flexes, pumps his body. The pouch opening stretches, and tiny, perfect copies of himself start emerging. Dozens of them, sometimes hundreds, each one fully formed. Tiny seahorses, smaller than a fingernail, swimming immediately. No learning required. They just know how. The birthing can last hours. Each contraction releases a few more babies. The father flexes, rests, flexes again. The babies scatter into the water. They're on their own immediately. There's no parental care after birth, no feeding, no protection, just release into the ocean. The father's job is done. He carried them safely through their most vulnerable stage. Now they have to survive on their own, and many don't survive. Seahorse babies are tiny, vulnerable. They're food for countless other sea creatures. Out of hundreds born, maybe only a handful will reach adulthood. This seems harsh, but it's the strategy. Produce many offspring, accept that most will die, trust that some will survive. It's not cruelty. It's just how the numbers work, how the species continues. But here's what's remarkable. After giving birth, after hours of labor, after releasing hundreds of babies into the water, the male is ready to mate again almost immediately, sometimes within hours. The female will deposit new eggs. The cycle begins again. He might be pregnant multiple times in a single breeding season. Each time, his body adapts. Each time, he carries the young to term. Each time, he gives them the best start he can, then releases them, then does it again. This is devotion in a form we don't often recognize. It's not the long-term care of mammals, not the feeding and protecting that birds do, but it's commitment nonetheless. The male seahorse invests his body, his energy, his time. He accepts the vulnerability of pregnancy, the risk of carrying swollen with young in an ocean full of predators. He does this because it's his role, because this is how seahorses continue. And he doesn't question it, he just does it. Female seahorses have an important role too, of course. They produce the eggs. They choose mates carefully. They visit their pregnant partners daily, reinforcing the bond. These visits might seem unnecessary, since the male is doing all the carrying. But they matter. They maintain the pair bond. They coordinate reproductive timing. When the male gives birth, the female needs to be ready with new eggs. So the visits keep them synchronized, keep them connected. What seahorses show us is that parenting can take forms we don't expect, that males can be nurturing, that pregnancy isn't exclusively female, that care and investment come in many shapes. The seahorse father, carrying his young in his pouch, swimming carefully through seagrass beds, protecting the next generation with his own body, is as much a parent as any mother in nature. The method is different, but the commitment is real. Other fish show unusual parenting too. Some cichlids are mouth brooders. The parent, sometimes father, sometimes mother, depending on species, carries fertilized eggs in their mouth. They don't eat during this time, can't eat. Their mouth is full of eggs. For weeks, they fast, keeping the eggs safe in the one place no predator can reach without killing them first. When the babies hatch, they stay in the parent's mouth. If danger threatens, they swim back in. The parent becomes a living refuge. Darwin's frog fathers swallow their tadpoles. The tadpoles develop in the father's vocal sac. He carries them there, not eating, for weeks. When they've transformed into tiny frogs, he opens his mouth and releases them. His body has been their world, their protection, their entire environment during their most vulnerable stage. These examples challenge what we think we know about male and female roles, about who cares for young and how. They show that evolution finds many solutions, many ways for the next generation to survive. And care, real care, isn't limited to one sex or one method. It shows up wherever it's needed, however it works. The seahorse father, laboring to birth his young, is doing something profound. He's not just perpetuating his species, he's demonstrating that gentleness and strength aren't opposites. That being vulnerable, being swollen with young, being the one who carries, doesn't make you weak. It makes you essential. It makes you the future. His small body, his careful swimming, his patient waiting through pregnancy, his hours of labor, all of it matters. All of it is courage of a kind we don't always recognize. And this kind of devotion appears in other unexpected forms. Primates spend hours grooming each other. Hours. Not because they're particularly dirty, not because parasites are such a constant threat, but because grooming is how they bond, how they show care, how they maintain relationships that might otherwise fray. A monkey sitting quietly, picking through another's fur with focused attention, is doing something important, something that goes far beyond hygiene. The act itself is simple. One primate sits, another approaches. Permission is granted through posture, through stillness, through acceptance. The groomer begins working through the fur methodically, parting sections, looking closely at the skin, removing bits of debris, dead skin, the occasional insect. The fingers work steadily, rhythmically. The groomed primate relaxes, sometimes closes their eyes. The touch is gentle, deliberate, focused. This can go on for half an hour, sometimes longer. During this time, both primates are fully present. The groomer isn't distracted, isn't thinking about food or status or anything else. Just this task, this service, this moment of connection, and the one being groomed receives it, lets themselves be vulnerable, lets someone else tend to them, trusts in the gentleness of the touch. Scientists have found that grooming reduces stress hormones. Heart rates slow, breathing deepens. Both the groomer and the groomed benefit. It's meditation in action, a moving meditation where the focus is on another being, on caring for them, on giving time and attention without expecting anything immediate in return. Though, of course, the grooming is often reciprocated, not immediately, but eventually. The primate who was groomed will groom in return. The gift circulates through the group. Grooming also establishes and maintains social bonds. Primates who groom each other more often are more likely to support each other in conflicts, more likely to share food, more likely to play together. The time spent in grooming is an investment in relationship, a way of saying you matter to me without words, a way of building trust through consistent, gentle action. Mother primates groom their infants from birth. The infant learns to accept touch, learns to sit still, learns that being touched can be soothing, not threatening. As the infant grows, they learn to groom back, first clumsily, then with increasing skill. And eventually, they groom others in their group. The practice spreads. The knowledge of how to give this kind of care passes from generation to generation. High-ranking primates receive more grooming than others. This isn't always because they demand it. Sometimes it's strategic. Lower-ranking individuals groom higher-ranking ones to maintain good relationships, to stay in favor. But high-ranking primates also groom those below them. They use grooming to maintain alliances, to show that even with their status, they're still part of the group, still willing to give time and attention to others. The time spent grooming is time not spent foraging, not spent looking for predators, not spent doing anything productive in an immediate sense, but it's essential anyway. Groups that groom more have stronger social bonds, less conflict, better cooperation. The time invested in grooming pays dividends in group cohesion, in survival, in the quality of life within the group. Some primates have preferences about who they groom. Close friends groom each other more often. Family members prioritize each other. But grooming also happens across these close bonds. Sometimes a primate will groom someone they don't normally interact with much, building a new relationship, repairing a damaged one, reaching out. The grooming becomes a way to change social dynamics, to heal rifts, to extend friendship. There's something deeply peaceful about watching primates groom. The focused attention, the gentle touch, the complete presence with each other. No phones, no distractions, no hurry. Just two beings, connected through touch and time. One giving care, one receiving it. Both benefiting. Both made more peaceful by the exchange. Humans used to do this more. We still do, in modified forms. We brush each other's hair. We give massages. We hug. But we've largely lost the practice of long, patient, focused grooming sessions. We're too busy, too distracted, too uncomfortable with quiet, extended physical contact that isn't sexual. But something in us still recognizes the value, still wants it, still needs that kind of unhurried, attentive touch. Primates show us what we're missing. They show us that time spent in gentle, focused care of another being is time well spent. That touch matters. That attention matters. That being willing to sit with someone, to tend to them patiently, to give them your time without rushing, that's a gift. A real gift. Not something you buy. Something you give from yourself, from your presence, from your willingness to be there fully for someone else. The grooming never really ends. In a primate group, someone is always grooming someone. The practice continues throughout the day, throughout their lives. It's not a special occasion. It's not reserved for certain times. It's just part of how they exist together, how they maintain the bonds that keep them safe and connected and alive. And when primates can't groom, when they're isolated or kept alone, they suffer. The absence of touch, of connection, of that patient tending, it damages them. They need it, not as a luxury, as a necessity. What we can learn from this is simple. Connection takes time. Care takes attention. Touch matters. Being present with another being, really present, with your focus and your hands and your willingness to be patient, that creates bonds that words alone cannot. That's true for primates. And it's true for us. We're not so different from them. We need touch. We need attention. We need to give care and receive it. We need to slow down enough to actually be with each other. Not just near each other, but with each other, present, patient, connected. And connection appears in forms even more surprising than grooming. Some relationships aren't just beneficial, they're necessary. Neither partner could survive alone. They've evolved together for so long that they've become interdependent. Two species, two completely different forms of life, needing each other to exist. And one of the most beautiful examples of this is the clownfish and the sea anemone. Sea anemones are predators. They look like flowers, gentle and waving in the current, but their tentacles are covered with stinging cells called nematocysts. These cells fire tiny harpoons filled with venom. Any fish that brushes against them gets stung, paralyzed, pulled into the anemone's mouth. It's an effective hunting strategy. The anemone sits and waits. Prey comes to it. The ocean provides. But clownfish swim among these tentacles without getting stung. They live inside the anemone. They sleep there. They raise their young there. They dart in and out, completely protected by the very tentacles that would kill most other fish. How is this possible? The answer is in their mucus. Clownfish produce a special coating that either mimics the anemone's own mucus or suppresses the firing of the stinging cells. Scientists aren't completely sure which, but either way, the anemone doesn't recognize the clownfish as prey, doesn't sting it, accepts it as part of itself. This protection is crucial for the clownfish. They're small, brightly colored, easy targets for larger fish. Without the anemone, they wouldn't last long. But inside those stinging tentacles, they're safe. Nothing else will come there. Nothing else can. It's a fortress made of living tissue, a home that actively defends them. But the clownfish isn't just receiving protection, it's giving something back. It cleans the anemone, removes parasites, chases away fish that might eat the anemone. And here's something remarkable. The clownfish's bright colors and active swimming attract other fish. These fish, curious or aggressive, come to investigate. And when they get too close to the anemone, they get stung, caught, eaten. The clownfish, without meaning to, acts as bait. It lures prey to its partner. The clownfish also brings food to the anemone, not intentionally, perhaps, but as a side effect of eating inside the tentacles. Scraps fall. Uneaten pieces drift down. The anemone catches and consumes them, and the clownfish's waste provides nutrients that the anemone can absorb. Even the excrement becomes food. Nothing is wasted in this relationship. Over time, anemones that host clownfish grow larger and reproduce more successfully than those without them. The presence of the fish improves their health, makes them stronger, more likely to survive and pass on their genes. And clownfish that lose their anemones often don't survive long. They become vulnerable immediately, easy prey. The partnership isn't just helpful, it's essential for both. Young clownfish must find an anemone. It's not automatic. They're born in the open water, drift as larvae, eventually settle and search for a host. When they find an anemone, they approach carefully. They touch the tentacles gently, get stung slightly, retreat, return, touch again. Over hours or days, they acclimate. They build up their protective mucus coating. They teach their body to recognize this specific anemone as safe, and eventually they're accepted. They're home. Once established with an anemone, a clownfish rarely leaves. The anemone becomes its entire world, a few square feet of ocean that contain everything it needs: safety, food sources, a place to lay eggs, a territory to defend. There's no wandering, no exploring distant reefs, just this one spot, this one partner, a lifetime commitment to a few square feet of ocean floor. Clownfish are born male, all of them, but they can change sex. In each anemone, there's a dominant female and her mate. If the female dies, the male transforms into a female. One of the younger males then matures to become her new mate. This flexibility ensures the anemone always has a breeding pair, always has fish to maintain the partnership. The relationship is more important than individual identity. The fish adapt to keep it going. Other animals have similar partnerships. Cleaner fish remove parasites from larger fish who could easily eat them but don't. The large fish benefit from the cleaning. The cleaner fish get food. Both need each other. Certain birds sit on the backs of water buffalo, eating ticks and warning of danger. The buffalo get pest control. The birds get food and a mobile platform. Neither could do as well alone. These relationships show us something important about survival. It's not always about being the strongest or fastest or smartest. Sometimes it's about being connected, about finding someone whose strengths complement yours, whose needs you can meet while they meet yours, about building something together that's stronger than either part alone. The clownfish doesn't fight the anemone's nature. It doesn't try to make the tentacles less dangerous. Instead, it adapts to work within that danger. It finds safety in what others fear. And the anemone doesn't change its hunting strategy to accommodate the fish. It remains what it is, a predator. But within that identity, there's room for partnership, room for this one small fish to be safe. There's trust in this. The clownfish trusts that the anemone won't suddenly sting it. The anemone trusts that the clownfish won't eat its tentacles or harm it. Neither can enforce this trust. Neither has power over the other. It's just an agreement written into their biology, evolved over millennia, tested and proven generation after generation. And it works. It keeps working. The partnership endures. When you watch a clownfish darting through anemone tentacles, there's grace in it. The fish knows exactly where it can go, exactly how to move. It's completely at home in what would kill most others. It's found its place, its partner, its piece of ocean where it belongs. And in that belonging, in that mutual need and mutual benefit, there's a kind of peace, a rightness, a sense that this is how things should be. Two different lives, woven together, each making the other possible. But not all peaceful communities look like partnerships. Beneath the dry earth of East Africa, in complete darkness, naked mole rats have built something remarkable. Not just tunnels, not just burrows, but entire underground cities. It's miles of interconnected passages. chambers for different purposes: food storage, nurseries, toilets, living quarters. And in these cities, sometimes containing hundreds of individuals, there's almost no conflict. No fighting over resources, no competition for mates, just cooperation, just acceptance of role and place. This is unusual for mammals. Most mammals compete. They fight for dominance, for mates, for food, for territory. But naked mole rats have organized themselves more like social insects, like ants or bees. There's one queen. She's the only female who breeds. She's larger than the others, more aggressive, but her aggression is directed at maintaining her status, not at everyday governance. The colony runs itself. The other females don't fight to breed. They don't challenge the queen. They accept their role as workers, or they dig tunnels, gather food, care for the queen's pups. They do this without resentment, without rebellion. There's no evidence they're unhappy with this arrangement. They just do what needs doing. The colony functions. Everyone has a role. Everyone fulfills it. Males also accept their place. A few may mate with the queen, most won't. But they all contribute. They dig. They defend the colony from snakes. They help transport food. They maintain the tunnel systems. There's no sulking, no refusal to work, because they're not the chosen ones. They're part of something larger than individual reproduction. Part of a colony that survives together or fails together. The work is constant. The tunnels must be maintained, extended. The dry African soil is hard. The mole rats dig with their teeth. They form chains to move dirt out of the tunnels. One digs, passes dirt backward. The next moves it further back, and so on until someone dumps it outside. It's assembly line work, efficient, coordinated. No one argues about who should dig and who should carry. They just do what's needed in the moment. Food comes from underground tubers, large roots that the mole rats find by tunneling randomly until they hit one. When they find a tuber, they eat from the inside out, leaving the outer layer intact so the plant continues growing. They return to the same tuber over and over. It becomes a renewable food source. They're not destroying their environment. They're farming it in a way, maintaining it, taking only what they need while letting it regenerate. The colony shares food. When a mole rat finds food, it doesn't hoard it. It brings it back to communal storage chambers. Everyone eats from this shared supply. The young, the old, the workers, the soldiers, the queen. There's no hierarchy of eating. No one goes hungry while others feast. The food belongs to the colony. Individual survival depends on colony survival. So everyone is fed. Naked mole rats are also remarkable for their longevity. While most rodents live 2 or 3 years, naked mole rats can live over 30 years. They show very few signs of aging. Their bodies don't deteriorate the way other mammals do. Cancer is almost unheard of in them. They maintain their health and vitality for decades. Scientists are still trying to understand why, but part of it might be the lack of stress. No fighting, no competition, no constant anxiety about status or resources. Just work, rest, community, repeat. The tunnels are dark, completely dark. These rats are nearly blind. They navigate by touch, smell, and sound. They recognize each other by scent, by voice. Each colony has its own unique odor. Mole rats from different colonies smell different, and they're hostile to outsiders. Will attack and kill mole rats that don't smell right. The colony is family. Outsiders are threats. The boundary is clear. The enforcement is swift. But within the colony, there's peace. temperature is constant underground. While the surface bakes during the day and cools at night, the tunnels remain stable. This is crucial for naked mole rats because they're cold-blooded. Unlike other mammals, they can't regulate their body temperature internally. They rely on the environment, and the underground environment is perfect, stable, predictable, safe from extremes. When it gets too hot, they spread out. When too cold, they huddle together. They share body heat. They help each other maintain temperature. It's automatic. No one assigns these tasks. The rats just respond to what they feel. If you're warm, you move to a cooler section. If you're cold, you find others and press close. The colony self-regulates, maintains optimal conditions through collective behavior. The queen's pups are raised communally. Worker mole rats, who will never have their own babies, care for these pups as if they were their own. They keep them warm, clean them, feed them, protect them. There's no resentment, no withholding of care. These pups are the colony's future. Everyone's invested in their survival. Everyone participates in raising them. Young mole rats learn their role by watching older ones. There's no formal teaching, no instruction. They just see others digging and start digging. See others carrying food and start carrying. The knowledge passes through observation and imitation. The colony perpetuates itself through this simple transmission of behavior, from older workers to younger ones, generation after generation. When the queen dies, there's a brief period of chaos. Several females may fight for the position, but once one establishes dominance, peace returns. She becomes the new queen. The others accept this, return to their worker roles. The colony continues. Individual identity matters less than collective function. The work is what matters. The continuation of the whole. This might sound oppressive to us. We value individual freedom, individual choice, individual achievement. But naked mole rats show another way. A way where the stress of constant choice is absent, where your role is clear, where community is guaranteed, where you don't have to compete for resources or status or love. You're born into a place, a purpose, and you fulfill it. There's peace in that clarity, in that acceptance, in knowing you're part of something that works. They don't fight because there's nothing to fight about. Food is shared, mates are determined, work is distributed. Everyone contributes, everyone benefits. The system works because everyone participates in making it work. There's no opting out, no freeloaders, but also no exploitation, no unfair burden, just the steady hum of collective life, underground, in darkness, in peace. And sometimes, peace comes from simply honoring what the body needs. Lions sleep 20 hours a day after a successful hunt, not because they're lazy, not because they're wasting time, but because they're exhausted. They've spent enormous energy bringing down prey, running, fighting, feeding. Their bodies need recovery, and they give it, without hesitation, without guilt. They simply rest, as long as it takes, until they're hungry again, until they're ready to hunt again. There's no shame in this, no sense that they should be doing something productive. They're tired, so they sleep. It's that simple. This honesty about physical needs is something animals maintain that humans often lose. We feel guilty about resting. We think we should always be doing something, always be productive, always be achieving, but our bodies have limits just like animal bodies do. We need rest after exertion. We need sleep when we're tired. We need to honor exhaustion as a signal, not a weakness. Watch a dog after a long walk. They don't fight the tiredness. They find a comfortable spot and lie down. Sometimes they're asleep within seconds. Their body needed rest. They gave it. No internal debate. No pushing through. No coffee to artificially extend energy. Just honest acknowledgement that the tank is empty and needs refilling. Bears, after emerging from hibernation, need to rebuild their strength. They don't immediately rush back to full activity. They move slowly, rest often, eat when they can, gradually increase their activity as their energy returns. There's wisdom in this gradual return, in not expecting immediate full function after a period of depletion. They honor the recovery process. Give it the time it needs. Even the most active animals build rest into their lives. Cheetahs, the fastest land animals, who spend most of their time resting. They can only maintain their top speed for about 30 seconds. That burst of speed drains them completely. So they rest, a lot. They conserve energy for when they really need it. They don't run just because they can. They run when necessary. The rest of the time, they're still, watching, waiting, saving energy. Migratory birds stop to rest during their long journeys. They don't try to complete the whole flight in one go. They fly, rest, feed, fly again. The journey happens in stages, each stage manageable, each rest period essential. Without those stops, they wouldn't make it. The rest is as important as the flying. One enables the other. Animals don't compare their rest needs to others. A lion doesn't look at a cheetah and think, I should need less sleep. They need what they need. Their metabolism dictates it. Their lifestyle demands it. And they accept this without judgment. They don't try to be something they're not. Don't try to need less than they need. They just are what they are, and rest accordingly. Pregnant animals rest more. Their bodies are doing double work, growing themselves and growing offspring. They honor this increased demand by decreasing other activities. They sleep more, move less, conserve energy for the essential task of creating new life. There's no fighting this, no trying to maintain the same activity level. They adjust, naturally, without overthinking it. Injured animals rest to heal. They don't push through pain. They stop, find a safe place, stay still, let their body repair itself. This isn't giving up. It's intelligent resource management. Healing takes energy. If you're using energy to move and hunt and fight, you're not using it to heal. So injured animals prioritize. They rest, they wait. They give their body what it needs to fix what's broken. Old animals slow down. They rest more, sleep more, move more carefully. They're not being lazy. Their bodies have less energy than they used to. Joints hurt. Muscles are weaker. They can't do what they once did. And they accept this. They don't berate themselves. Don't feel shame. They just adjust their life to match their current capacity. They honor where they are, not where they were. Young animals seem to have endless energy, but they also crash suddenly. A puppy playing intensely one moment, asleep the next. No transition, no gradual wind down, just immediate surrender to exhaustion. They expend energy fully, then rest fully. There's no half measure, no trying to extend themselves beyond what their body can give. When the energy is gone, they stop. Simple as that. This complete surrender to rest is something we could learn from. We try to push through tiredness. We see sleep as something to minimize, rest as wasted time. But animals show us that rest is essential, that the body has wisdom we should listen to, that exhaustion is not a moral failing, it's information. It's your body telling you it needs something. And the appropriate response is to give it that thing not to ignore it, not to power through, but to honor it. Animals don't rest because they've earned it. They rest because they need it. There's no merit system, no calculation of whether you deserve rest based on what you've accomplished. The body doesn't care about accomplishment. It cares about survival, about maintaining function, and rest is essential to that maintenance. So, animals rest when tired. It's that simple, that honest, that clean. Think about how different your life might be if you treated rest this way. If you slept when you were sleepy. If you stopped when exhausted. If you honored your body's signals without judgment. If you rested as honestly as a lion after a hunt. Just because you needed it. Not because you earned it or deserved it or had permission. Just because you were tired. And being tired meant you needed rest. Period. Animals don't suffer from burnout the way humans do. They don't push themselves into exhaustion and then keep pushing. They have natural limits and they respect them. When energy is depleted, they stop, they rest, they recover. Then they continue. So this cycle prevents the kind of deep depletion that leads to burnout. The kind where rest no longer helps because you've gone too far past your limits. The lesson here is simple. Rest is not a luxury. It's not something you do when everything else is done. It's a biological necessity. Your body needs it to function, to repair, to maintain itself. And honoring that need isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's listening to the intelligence of your body. The same intelligence that animals trust completely. The same intelligence that keeps them healthy and functional and alive. But rest isn't the only way animals show patience. A crocodile can wait for hours without moving, floating in water, eyes just above the surface, completely still, not fidgeting, not shifting position, not getting bored or impatient, just waiting, watching. Its metabolism has slowed, its heart rate has dropped, it's barely using any energy at all. It's become part of the water, part of the bank, part of the landscape, and it can maintain this state for hours, sometimes days, just waiting for prey to come close enough. This is patience of a kind most of us can't imagine. We get restless after minutes of waiting. We check our phones, we shift in our seats. We need distraction, stimulation, something to fill the empty time. But a crocodile doesn't experience waiting as empty time. It's not enduring the wait until something better happens. It's just present, still, its whole being focused on this one moment, this one possibility, that something might come within range. The stillness is absolute. No unnecessary movement, no wasted energy. Every calorie is precious. In environments where food can be scarce, where opportunities are infrequent, efficiency matters. And the most efficient thing a crocodile can do while waiting is nothing. Just float. Just watch. Just be ready. The tension isn't in the body. It's in the potential. The coiled possibility of sudden explosive action. When prey approaches, the crocodile doesn't move immediately. It waits, lets the animal get closer, comfortable, unaware. Only when the moment is perfect does the crocodile strike. And when it does, it's fast, incredibly fast. All that stored energy released in one explosive burst. The tail drives it forward, the jaws snap closed. In seconds, it's over. Either the crocodile has caught its meal, or the prey has escaped. Either way, the crocodile returns to stillness. If it succeeded, it feeds. If it failed, it waits again. No frustration, no anger, just acceptance. The opportunity didn't work. another will come, eventually, and the crocodile will be there, still, patient, ready. This ability to wait comes from their cold-blooded nature. They don't need to eat often. A large meal can sustain them for weeks or months. They don't burn energy maintaining body temperature. The sun warms them. The water cools them. They move between these as needed, but mostly they just are, existing in a state of minimal expenditure, minimal need. They've survived for millions of years with this strategy, through ice ages and warm periods, through extinctions that killed most other large animals. They persisted because they're efficient, because they can wait, because they don't need much. Other ambush predators show similar patience. Herons stand in shallow water, absolutely motionless, waiting for fish to swim past. They might stand for an hour without moving, just watching the water. When a fish comes close enough, the strike is instant. The long neck shoots forward, the beak snaps, the fish is caught, or it isn't. If not, the heron returns to stillness, waits again. There's no rushing this process, no forcing it, just patience, just presence, just readiness. Spiders build webs and wait, sometimes for days. The web does the catching. The spider just has to be patient, to check the web regularly, to rush when something is caught. The rest of the time is waiting, and spiders are good at waiting. They don't pace, don't get anxious, they just sit. Conserve energy, let the trap do its work. This kind of hunting is the opposite of chase hunting. It's not about speed or endurance, it's about stillness. About conserving energy until the moment it's needed. About trusting that opportunities will come if you're patient enough, if you're still enough, if you're present enough to recognize the moment when it arrives. There's no anxiety in this waiting. Anxiety is about future uncertainty, about not knowing when something will happen. But these animals aren't worried about when. They're not thinking about time at all. They're just here, now, ready. Time passes around them. They remain constant. When the moment comes, they act. When it doesn't, they continue waiting. The waiting itself is neither good nor bad. It's just what is. For us, this kind of patience seems impossible. We're warm-blooded. We need constant food, constant energy. We can't lower our metabolism at will, but we also create a lot of our own impatience. We tell ourselves we're wasting time, that we should be doing something, that waiting is unproductive. But what if we saw it differently? What if waiting could be its own kind of presence, its own kind of action? Not the absence of doing something, but the active choice to be still, to be ready, to be patient. Crocodiles don't worry about missed opportunities. If prey escapes, there will be more. The river continues. Animals continue coming to drink. The opportunities are endless, as long as the crocodile is patient, as long as it doesn't waste energy on unnecessary action, on frustration, on anything other than efficient waiting and efficient striking when the moment comes. This efficiency extends to their entire lives. Crocodiles can live 60 to 70 years or more, some species even longer. They grow slowly, mature late, take their time with everything, and they maintain their health throughout. They don't burn out, don't exhaust themselves with constant activity. They pace themselves. They rest when resting is appropriate. They move when movement is needed. They exist in balance, in rhythm with their environment and their needs. The patience of a hunting crocodile is pure. There's no thought in it, no meditation practice, no conscious decision to be patient. It's just how they are, how they're built, how they've survived. But even though it's instinctual for them, there's something we can learn from it. Something about being present, about not forcing things, about waiting for the right moment instead of trying to make every moment right, about conserving energy, about trusting in the rhythm of things, about knowing that opportunities come. You just have to be there, still, ready, patient, when they arrive. And patience shows itself in other tender forms too. Sea otters sleep floating on their backs. They spread themselves out on the surface of the ocean, belly up, paws folded on their chest. And when they sleep in groups, they hold hands. Actually hold hands. They reach out to each other and grasp paws. Sometimes they form chains, rafts of otters, all connected, floating together while they rest. They do this so they don't drift apart, so they wake up still together, still safe in their group. It's one of the most tender things in nature. Sleep is vulnerable. On the open ocean, there's no shelter, no burrow to hide in, no tree to climb, just water and sky and whatever might be swimming below. A sleeping otter is defenseless, can't see danger coming, can't react quickly, so they sleep together. They hold on to each other, and in that connection, there's safety. Not perfect safety, but better odds. If one wakes to a threat, they all wake. The disturbance travels through the chain of held hands. The alarm spreads. Everyone responds. But it's more than just practical safety. There's comfort in the contact, reassurance. You're not alone in the vast ocean. Someone's there. You can feel them. Even in sleep, even in complete vulnerability, you're connected. You're part of something. The group doesn't abandon you in the night. They literally hold on, keep you close, prevent the slow separation that currents would cause. Sometimes they wrap themselves in kelp before sleeping. The kelp anchors them, keeps them from drifting into dangerous areas. They wind it around their bodies, a natural anchor or a seatbelt made of seaweed. And they sleep wrapped up like this, rocking with the waves, held by the kelp and holding each other. It's a small measure of control in an environment that's mostly uncontrollable. They can't stop the ocean from moving, but they can choose to stay in one place, to remain together. The hand-holding isn't constant throughout their lives. It's mostly when they're resting on the surface in groups. When they're alone, they might wrap in kelp, but they don't hold hands with nothing. The behavior needs another otter. It's about connection, about being part of a raft, a family, a group that stays together even in sleep, even when consciousness fades and control disappears. The connection remains. Mother otters are especially careful with their pups. When a pup is very young, as the mother keeps it on her chest while she floats, holds it, grooms it, feeds it, the pup is safe there, warm, protected. As it gets older and learns to swim, it stays close. When the mother needs to dive for food, she might leave the pup wrapped in kelp at the surface, a floating nursery. The pup waits there. The kelp keeps it from drifting away. And when the mother returns, she finds it exactly where she left it. The trust in this is remarkable. The mother trusts the kelp. The pup trusts the mother will return. And she does, every time, until the pup is old enough to dive with her, to fend for itself. Sea otters spend a lot of time grooming their fur. Their survival depends on it. Unlike seals and whales, otters don't have blubber for insulation. They rely on their incredibly dense fur to trap air and keep them warm in cold ocean water. If the fur gets matted or dirty, it loses its insulating properties. They get cold. In extreme cold water, hypothermia can kill quickly. So grooming isn't vanity, it's maintenance, it's survival. They groom before sleeping, after eating, throughout the day, keeping their fur clean, fluffed, functional. It's self-care in the most literal sense. When they sleep in the day, which they often do, they float in the sun, the warmth on their belly, the cold water below. They're comfortable in this contrast. They've adapted to it, made it work. They're not trying to be completely on land or completely in water. They exist in between, at the surface, at the boundary, and they've found peace there. Found a way to rest in a place that seems unsuitable for rest. On moving water, exposed to sun and wind and predators. But they rest anyway, because they must, because their bodies need it, and they found a way to make it work. The hand-holding behavior was only discovered relatively recently by humans. We've watched otters for a long time, but this particular behavior wasn't widely known until videos of it spread on the internet, and people fell in love with it immediately, because it speaks to something we understand. We also don't want to drift apart from the people we care about. We also seek connection, even in sleep, even in vulnerability. We also know that being alone is scary, that being together is better, safer, more comforting. The otters are doing what we wish we could do more easily. Staying connected, not letting go, being there for each other, even when consciousness fades. Of course, it's not all tenderness. Sea otters can be aggressive. Males compete for mates. They can be rough during mating. They steal food from each other. They're animals, not saints. But the hand-holding behavior is purely gentle. There's no advantage to it except staying together. No competition in it. No aggression. Just connection. Just the simple desire not to be alone. Not to wake up separated from the group. To sleep knowing you're held. That someone has you. That you won't be lost in the night. In aquariums, otters still do this. Even in enclosed tanks where they can't drift away. The behavior persists. They reach for each other, hold hands while floating. The practicality might be gone, but the instinct remains. The desire for connection, the comfort of contact. It's not just about preventing separation. It's about being together, about feeling another otter's paw in yours, about knowing, even in sleep, that you're not alone. This is what we all want, really. To rest deeply, to be vulnerable, to close our eyes and trust that we'll be safe, that we won't drift into danger, that we won't wake up alone, to feel connected even when we're not conscious, to know that others are there, holding on, not letting go. The otters have found a way to do this, to make themselves safe through connection, through the simple act of reaching out and holding on. And there's wisdom in that, in choosing connection, in choosing to hold and be held, in trusting that you're safer together than apart, even when you're unconscious, even when you can't protect yourself. Even then, you're held, and everything keeps moving in its ancient rhythm. Salmon are born in freshwater streams, small gravel beds where rivers run clear and cold. They hatch from eggs, tiny, transparent, barely alive. They grow slowly in these streams, learning to swim, learning to feed, learning what it means to be a fish. And then, when the time comes, they do something remarkable. They leave. They swim downstream, toward the ocean, toward salt water, toward a completely different world. This journey is called smoltification. The young salmon's body changes, adapts, learns to handle salt. The river fish becomes an ocean fish, and they spend years out there, in the vast Pacific or Atlantic, growing, feeding, becoming strong, becoming adult. They travel thousands of miles. They don't stay near the river mouth. They go far, deep into the ocean, living lives we can barely track. We don't know exactly where they go, what they do. We just know they survive, they grow, and eventually, years later, they return. The return journey is harder than leaving. They're swimming upstream now, against the current, against gravity. They're climbing rivers, leaping up waterfalls, fighting their way back to where they were born. And here's what's astonishing. They find it. The exact stream where they hatched. Out of all the rivers flowing into the ocean, out of all the tributaries and branches and small streams, they find the one, their one, the place they came from. Scientists think they navigate by smell, by chemical signatures in the water. They remember, somehow, the specific scent of their birth stream. And they follow that scent home, through hundreds of miles of river, through obstacles and predators and exhaustion. They keep swimming upstream. They don't eat during this journey, can't eat. Their bodies are changing again, preparing for spawning, preparing for death. All their energy goes into swimming, into reaching the place where they'll lay eggs, where they'll fertilize them, where the next generation will begin. The journey transforms them. Their bodies turn red or green or silver, depending on the species. Their jaws change shape. Males develop hooked teeth, humped backs. They look like different creatures than the ones who left, and they're using themselves up, burning through every resource, every bit of stored energy. They're not trying to survive this journey, they're trying to complete it. There's a difference. When they reach the spawning grounds, they mate. Females dig nests in the gravel, lay thousands of eggs. Males fertilize them, and then, exhausted, damaged, depleted, they die. All of them. Every single salmon that makes the journey upstream dies after spawning. Their bodies decay in the water. Their nutrients feed the stream, feed the insects, feed the new fry when they hatch. The parents become food for their children. The cycle completes. This seems sad from a human perspective. They work so hard to get home. They endure so much. And then they die. But from another angle, it's perfect. They've done what they needed to do. They've returned their bodies to the place where they began. They've given everything they have to ensure the next generation. They've completed the circle. Birth, growth, journey, return, reproduction, death. And in that death, new life. The eggs hatch. The fry emerge. The cycle begins again. The forests around salmon streams are healthier than other forests because of the salmon, because bears catch them and drag them into the woods, because eagles and ravens feed on them, because their bodies, rich with ocean nutrients, fertilize the soil. Nitrogen from the ocean makes its way deep into forests through salmon, through their death, through their decay. The trees grow taller, the forest grows denser, all because salmon complete their journey, all because they come home to die. Indigenous peoples have known this for thousands of years. They've watched the salmon runs, they've harvested salmon, they've thanked the salmon for giving their lives, for returning, for providing, and they've understood that this isn't just about fish, it's about connection, about how everything feeds everything else, about how death enables life, about how the cycle must complete for anything to continue. The eggs in the gravel take months to hatch. Through winter, they develop slowly in the cold water, protected by stones, hidden from predators. The parent fish are long gone, long dead, long decayed, but their legacy remains in those eggs, in that next generation waiting to emerge. And when they do emerge, they have no memory of their parents, no knowledge of the journey ahead. They just swim, feed, grow, until instinct tells them it's time to leave, time to go to the ocean. And they go, just like their parents did, just like their grandparents did, just like countless generations before them. Some salmon populations are struggling now. Dams block their roots. Pollution changes water chemistry. Climate change warms streams beyond what eggs can survive. The cycle is breaking in places. The salmon that made it back for millions of years are finding their way blocked, their streams destroyed. And when the salmon disappear, everything connected to them suffers. The bears, the eagles, the trees, the streams themselves. The whole system depends on their return, on the completion of their cycle. But in places where salmon still run freely, the cycle continues. Every fall, the streams fill with fish, red and silver bodies crowding into shallow water, spawning, dying, feeding the next generation. It's been happening for millions of years, through ice ages and warm periods. Through every change Earth has experienced, the salmon kept returning, kept dying, kept ensuring that new salmon would follow. The cycle is older than we are, older than our civilizations. It's ancient, fundamental, essential. What salmon teach us is that life isn't about individual survival. It's about continuation, about passing something forward, about ensuring that what comes after can thrive. They give everything, literally everything, their entire bodies, their entire lives. They hold nothing back. And in that complete giving, the species continues. The forest thrives. The stream stays healthy. Everything benefits from their sacrifice, from their willingness to complete the journey, to come home, to give themselves fully to what comes next. And this kind of giving is reflected in the simplest acts of living. A blue whale rises from the deep. It's been down for 15 minutes, 20, hunting in darkness, feeding on krill too small to see individually. But the whale has been holding its breath this entire time. Its lungs, massive enough to hold 5,000 litres of air, are nearly empty. And now it needs to surface, needs to breathe. This need drives it upward through thousands of feet of water, toward light, toward air, toward that brief moment at the surface where it can exhale and inhale and continue living. When it breaches the surface, the blow is explosive. A vertical column of mist shoots 30 feet into the air. This is the whale's exhale. Old air, carbon dioxide, water vapor, released in one powerful burst. The sound carries for miles, a signature, an announcement. I'm here, I'm breathing, I'm alive. Other whales might hear it, might know which whale it is by the sound of its blow. Each whale breathes a little differently. Each blow is unique. The inhale follows immediately, massive. The whale's blowhole opens, air rushes in, the lungs expand. Oxygen floods the system. The whale takes 3 or 4 breaths, maybe more, refilling, preparing for the next dive. This all happens in less than 2 minutes. A brief moment at the surface, a few breaths, then down again, back into the deep, back into the hunting, back into the darkness where it lives most of its life. This rhythm defines the whale's existence, up and down, breadth and depth. The surface is necessary but temporary, just a place to exchange gases, to refuel the body. The real life happens below, in the deep, where the food is, where the whale can move freely without fighting waves, where it's just them and the water and the silent prey they filter through their baleen. But that deep life is only possible because of these surface moments, these brief encounters with air. The whale's body is designed for this. Its blood holds more oxygen than ours. Its muscles store oxygen in a protein called myoglobin. When it dives, its heart rate slows. Blood flow redirects to essential organs: brain, heart, muscles for swimming. Everything else waits. Everything else makes do with less. The whale becomes efficient, minimal. Every beat of the heart matters. Every molecule of oxygen counts. Nothing is wasted in the deep. Calves have to learn this rhythm. They're born able to swim and breathe. But the deep dives take practice. They stay near the surface at first, with their mothers, learning to hold their breath, starting with short dives, gradually building capacity, building strength. The mother waits for them, adjusts her dives to accommodate them. She can dive longer and deeper than they can, but she doesn't. She stays with them, matches their rhythm, until they grow strong enough to match hers. There's no rushing this development. The calf will dive deep when it's ready, when its lungs are big enough, when its muscles have enough oxygen storage, when its body has learned how to conserve. Until then, shallow, short, frequent trips to the surface. And the mother accepts this, doesn't force it, doesn't leave the calf behind. She waits, surfaces with it, breathes with it, teaches through example and patience what it means to live this life. This rhythm of breath and depth, of surface and dive, of air and water. Sometimes whales breach completely, throw their entire massive bodies out of the water. Scientists aren't sure exactly why. Maybe to dislodge parasites, maybe to communicate, maybe for the joy of it. That moment of weightlessness, that brief flight, a creature that weighs 200,000 pounds, becoming briefly airborne. And then the crash, the tremendous splash, the white water, the sound that travels miles, and the whale sinks back into its element, back into the water, back into the life it knows. But mostly, breathing is quiet, surfacing, blowing, inhaling, descending. The rhythm continues, day after day, year after year, decade after decade. Blue whales can live 70 to 90 years. That's thousands upon thousands of dives, millions of breaths, each one necessary, each one sustaining life for a little longer, each one enabling another dive, another hunt, another day of existence in the deep ocean. The rhythm is reliable, predictable. The whale's body knows how long it can stay down, knows when air is getting low, knows when to start rising. There's no panic in this, no anxiety about running out of air. Just trust in the body's signals, trust in the pattern, trust that the surface will be there, that air will be there, that breath will come when needed. And it does, always. As long as the whale is alive, breath comes, the cycle continues. In winter, some whales migrate to warmer waters to breed and give birth. In summer, they return to cold waters to feed, but wherever they are, the rhythm remains. Surface, breathe, dive. It's not tied to location, not tied to season. It's just the basic pattern of being a whale, of being a mammal that chose the ocean, that gave up living on land to live in water, but kept the need for air, kept the connection to the surface, or kept the necessity of breath. This connection to air is what makes whales mammals, and not fish. Fish can extract oxygen from water through their gills. They don't need to surface. They can stay deep forever if they want. But whales must come up, must reach the boundary between ocean and sky, must take from both worlds to survive. They're creatures of the depth, but also of the air. They live in between, at the intersection, needing both, belonging fully to neither, creating their own way of being that honors both needs. When a whale dies, it sinks. The body drifts down through the water column, down to the seafloor, miles below, and there, in the deep, it becomes an entire ecosystem. A whale fall. Hundreds of species come to feed on it, to live in it, to use it as a habitat for years or decades. The whale's final gift. Its body feeding others long after its breath has stopped. After that rhythm of surface and depth has ended, the cycle completes differently for whales than for salmon. But it still completes. Life becomes food for other life. Nothing is wasted. Everything returns. Everything transforms. And we're part of these same patterns. Animals don't resist their nature. A sloth doesn't wish it could move faster. A crocodile doesn't feel guilty about waiting. A whale doesn't resent needing to surface for air. They are what they are. They do what they do. They live according to patterns written into their bodies over millions of years of evolution. And in that acceptance, there's a piece we've somehow lost. A piece we're always trying to rediscover through meditation, through therapy, through 1,000 different practices aimed at teaching us to accept what simply is. But animals already know this. They rest when tired. They eat when hungry. They sleep when it's dark. They wake when the sun rises or doesn't, depending on what they are. They follow signals from their bodies without questioning them, without judging them, without creating stories about what those signals mean about their worth, or their character, or their future. A tired lion doesn't think, "I'm weak for needing rest." It just rests. The tiredness is information. The rest is response. Clean, simple, complete. We've complicated everything. We've created rules about when we should sleep and for how long. We've decided that needing rest is somehow shameful. That being tired means we're not trying hard enough. That listening to our bodies is giving in to weakness. But animals show us how backward this thinking is. They show us that the body has intelligence, that its signals are meant to be heeded, that survival depends on this listening, this honoring of what we need when we need it. Think about what we've seen tonight. Bats sleeping 20 hours a day without apology. Ground squirrels hibernating for months, trusting their bodies to wake them. Greenland sharks living 400 years by moving slowly and patiently through cold water. Monarch butterflies completing journeys across generations, each one doing their part without needing to see the whole. Jellyfish drifting for 500 million years with no brain, no plan, just simple existence in the flow of ocean currents. Hummingbirds entering torpor every night, almost dying to survive until morning. Whales singing across oceans, patient in their communication, content to wait hours or days for a response if it comes at all. Elephants touching each other gently, mourning their dead, remembering for decades, carrying relationships through time with tenderness and trunk. Albatrosses returning year after year to the same partner, performing dances only they know, faithful across months of separation and thousands of miles of ocean. Seahorse fathers carrying young in their pouches, giving birth after weeks of pregnancy, immediately ready to do it again, showing that nurturing isn't tied to one sex or one way of being. Naked mole rats living in dark tunnels without conflict, each knowing their role, working together, sharing everything, proving that cooperation can be complete when no one is fighting over resources or status or attention. Lions sleeping 20 hours after a hunt, accepting honest exhaustion as the natural result of effort. Crocodiles waiting motionless for hours or days, efficient in their patience, striking only when the moment is perfect, returning to stillness regardless of success or failure. Sea otters holding hands while sleeping on open water, staying connected even in vulnerability, teaching us that we don't have to face the dark alone. Salmon swimming thousands of miles to return home, giving everything they have to spawn, dying so the next generation can begin. Their bodies feeding the streams and forests, showing us that life is about continuation, not individual survival. Blue whales rising from the deep to breathe, living in the rhythm of surface and depth, breath and dive, showing us that life requires both the deep work and the moments of air, and that both are necessary, both are holy. All of these animals, living their various lives, show us the same thing from different angles. They show us that life doesn't have to be complicated, that following your nature isn't weakness, that rest is essential, that patience pays, that connection matters, that giving and receiving care is how we survive, that the body knows things the mind tries to override. That simplicity is often wiser than complexity, that accepting what is takes less energy than fighting it, that trust, whether in your body's signals or in patterns that have worked for millennia, is intelligent, not naive. We can't become animals. We're human, with human needs and human complexity. But we can learn from them. We can observe how they live and ask ourselves what we've forgotten, what we've complicated unnecessarily, what we're resisting that we could accept, what signals we're ignoring that we could honor, what peace we could access if we stopped fighting our own nature. Tonight, as you rest, as you let sleep take you, remember the animals. Remember that rest is not a luxury, that tiredness is not a failing, that your body's need for sleep is as natural as a lion's, as essential as a bat's, as honest as any creature's. You're not weak for being tired. You're not less for needing rest. You're just an animal, a human animal, with a body that requires care, that requires sleep, that deserves to be honored, not pushed, not ignored, not shamed into continuing past its limits. Let yourself rest like the animals rest, completely, without guilt, without checking if you've earned it, without calculating whether you deserve it. Just rest because you're tired. Just sleep because it's time. Just let go because that's what bodies do when they're safe enough and tired enough and ready enough. The animals don't question this. Neither should you. If you found peace in these animal stories, if this journey through the patient, restful, connected lives of creatures has brought you some calm, consider sharing this with others who might need it too. Subscribe to Simple Science for Sleep for more journeys like this one. Comment below and let us know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let us know which animal's story touched you most. Let us know if you're drifting towards sleep, or if you found a moment of peace in the middle of a busy day. We're here every night with new stories, new ways of looking at the world, new reasons to feel connected to the life all around us. For now, rest. Let the images of sleeping bats and patient whales and otters holding hands while they float carry you into your own sleep. Let the steady rhythm of animal lives, the honest tiredness, the complete rest, the simple acceptance of what is, let all of it settle into your body. Let it give you permission to stop, to close your eyes, to breathe deeply, and let sleep come when it's ready. The animals are resting. You can rest too. It's time. Good night.